Hi everyone. Today's lecture is about patent, translating patent into practice, advances in regenerative medicine and stem cell therapies for healthy aging and aesthetics. Before we dive into the patent, let's pause and ask, why does this matter to physicians in practicing aesthetic medicine, healthy aging, or general practitioners? You will likely have some reading background in stem cell biology and tissue engineering, but knowing the science alone is not enough. In real world practice, you will face patients who ask, is this stem cell cream real? Should I try PRP or exosomes for my hair loss? Is there any safe cell-based treatment for my knee osteoarthritis? And many similar questions. To answer these questions responsibly, ethically, and confidentially, you need to understand which therapies are clinically viable, which ones are still experimental, and which are commercially available but unproven, and which ones are commercially available and proven. That's where clinical grade innovations, patents, regulatory approval, and real-world trials come in. These are not just academic science, they shape what's available in your practice, what you can recommend to your patients, and what treatments might be part of your clinic 5 years from now. So today we are shifting from cell biology to the translational map, where research becomes reality and where you as clinicians have to make informed choices in a rapidly evolving field of regenerative medicine. Before I further proceed, let me have this disclosure statement. The external links, articles, patents, and news reports shared in these lectures are provided solely for educational and informational purposes. They are intended to support critical thinking and self-directed learning. Inclusion of any source does not imply endorsement of its claims, clinical practices, or commercial offerings by the lecturer or the academic institution. Students are encouraged to evaluate each source using scientific reasoning, clinical evidence, and ethical considerations. Always refer to official regulatory guidelines in the country you are practicing. Read peer-reviewed literature when you are making clinical or research decisions. By end of these sessions, I hope you will be able to identify platforms to find regenerative stem cell-based interventions already in clinical use or under trial in aesthetic and age-related conditions, to understand how patent protection influences clinical availability, pricing, and evidence base of new therapies. Also, critically evaluate commercial offerings, example, exosome injectable, PRP, mesenchymal stem cells, or adipose-derived stem cells using clinical, legal, and regulatory lens. And also to make informed decisions in recommending, offering, or even avoiding new regenerative treatments in your practice. I put the stem cell regenerative medicine innovation pipeline summary here. Just have a big view of what we are going through this lecture. The first part is understanding the science. We need to know the fundamental and basic and the biology of the stem cells before further we move to decide if the applications are something you want to consider. And we have to evaluate innovation rigorously. It is important to understand the path is not from lab to clinic. There are numbers of assessments and review should be done before a clinically available regenerative medicine or stem cell-based treatment come to practice. Understanding patents and clinical trial pathways are important for any physicians who are considering offering any new treatment, including those who are based on a stem cell. Identifying red flags in commercial offers are very important to ensure you are aware of what are the possible red flags you can consider to clear before you offer a service or buy it when there are commercial company or industry approaching you to sell a service, and also to make evidence-based ethical choices in this field. I have divided the lecture to 6 segments. The first part is framing and a strategic overview, having a big picture where are we now in clinical regenerative medicine, and some example of what are hypes versus actionable. Also, we're looking at the pattern and emerging technology, a few examples of the already filed patents. We look at clinical scenario in aesthetic and aging medicine through some publications looking at regulatory and ethical landscapes, and also some slides on translational business and practical model for this field. And we have a wrap-up and future watch. Where are we now in clinical regenerative medicines? What are hypes versus actionable? The real-world view for practicing doctor. We can consider there are 3 current categories of regenerative therapies. The first one is clinically actionable, such as autologous PRP, fat grafting, mesenchymal stem cell in some orthopedic trials, and those who are currently approved for example, knee osteoarthritis or bioengineered skin substitute that have been used for burns or wound healing. The second categories are emerging or promising applications or therapies, such as induced pluripotent stem cell derived product, which I put an example of retina or spinal cord that have been used in clinical trial in Japan, for example, or cell-free exosome therapies that are under phase 1 to 2 trials. Some pharmaceutical product for senolytics in application in early aging trials, and bioprinted tissue scaffolds that have been used for organ generation. But the third category are those coming from low evidence with high hype. For example, using umbilical cord stem cells for anti-aging without any trial data, or exosome injectable for different application without any evidence or approval. Clinical usage of a stem cell for facial, which have very vague science justifying this application, or global use of the stem cell in industry, they call it stem cell tourist, that there are no oversight. What I want to emphasize here is being patented is not equal with being proven, or being available doesn't mean being ethical. Clinicians must really identify what is legally allowed to offer, what is biologically plausible, and how that biologically approved application have a clinical validation. I put a few examples of red flags here. If you are, for example, offering any new regenerative therapies or considering to have it, for example, if there is a company approaching you and saying this is a product, we are pending the patent, it means there is no peer review data yet. Have to really think twice before you want to offer this kind of the services. It's not registered with any authorized body like FDA. Some company use research exemptions to bypass approval. They recruit participants and patients, and they claim this is for research, but still there are some charges. Claims are very broad, for example, anti-aging, which is not clear what organs or pathway or metabolic system are getting benefit from these treatments, and no post-treatment follow-up or pharmacovigilance. It's very important to have enough follow-up. to know the efficacy, long-lasting of the service, the product or the treatment, and also to ensure if there is any long or delay adverse effect to be reported, and make sure there is a balance between the risk and benefit of the treatment. There are a number of the emerging technologies which are patented and also used in clinical setting for different reasons, but the number of the patent activity in 3 specific areas are really booming, and I put them here as kind of the guideline for your reading. If you are interested to offer these services, you may be able to find many evidence or publications or website to go through it, read it, and decide if you want to consider offering this treatment. The first group is exosomes and cell-free therapies, particularly those derived from mesenchymal stem cell, and currently there are over 260 patent families now covering isolation, compositions, and delivery methods, but also be aware that just a few of them are clinically grade validated. The second group are those from induced pluripotent stem cells that are expanding very quickly. There are hundreds of patents filed globally, and this tech has enormous potential, but is still far from aesthetic or outpatient applications, mostly are for inpatients and disease. The third group are the biomaterials and delivery system like hydrogels, scaffolds, and non-vesicle are increasingly patent protected, often marketed as part of advanced injectable or skin repair kits. The key message in this slide is patents do not equal products. There are a number of the patents that never go to produce for clinical application, but they do tell us what's coming, who owns it, and where investment is headed. This helps us as clinicians and practitioners anticipate what might reach our clinics in future and what questions we should ask before using it. To support your reading, I have 3 slides that have some reading. I will put this link to this website in the description side, and you can just go through it, read it in details, and get more idea of what is going on in these emerging technologies. The first one is the mesenchymal stem cell derived cell-free technology, a patent landscape. As I mentioned earlier, there are 269 patent family based on this publication, published June 2024. The next website is about global patent landscape of induced pluripotent stem cell. Also, there are a number of the application listed here, mostly from USA. What is interesting in that publications is that most of applications or patents coming from non-profit or academic institute, but still a large number of these applications or patents came from industry or for-profit companies. Another publication I recommend you to read to get more idea of the clinical trials with stem cell to a slow or reverse normal aging process, published in 2023, and it has example of some trials that has been published or stopped or is ongoing. And I have included a few slides to give you some idea of what patents are in this field. For example, this one is a method for treating age-related disease, filed early 2025 from Japan, and it's the senolytic agents to eliminate senescent cells. Collect the cells from patients. They say bank stem cell. It can be cells that are stored or draw from the patient's culture with the senolytic pharmaceutical agents and re-administered to same patient after treatment. The claims cover pharmaceutical composition is a senolytic agent. The process that is included removal, culture, and infusion, and is used in treating age-related disease and disorders. Another patent from China, that is application of adult stem cell derived intracellular nanovehicle in anti-aging and hair follicle regeneration. This is mostly derived from adult stem cell, especially mesenchymal stem cell. Target is anti-aging, skin regeneration, and hair follicle regeneration. And the claim is these radicals are reducing age-related molecules in skin cells, simulate proliferation of human skin fibroblasts, and also improve the hair growth. Another example I included here is composition for promoting hair growth. Also, there are a number of their patents in this field that consider treatment of different hair loss. And the claim is a formulation combining expanded mesenchymal stem cell, preferably adipose derived with ADP and a pharmaceutically acceptable carrier. The target use is for androgenic alopecia to stimulate hair growth, and is cosmetic application or treatment without any specific side effect reported. It can be injectable or topical depending on the formulation. Another example is a cosmetic composition containing exosome extracted from stem cell for skin whitening and anti-wrinkle or regeneration. The claim is also about a topical injectable cosmetic formulation using exosome derived for proliferating stem cell as their active ingredient. The intended application is for skin whitening, wrinkle reduction, or skin regeneration and repair. Even I included a few examples from patent or application of different regenerative medicine method for aesthetic or healthy aging. If you search, you will find numbers of the patent related to stem cell or regenerative medicine for other disease or condition like cancers or treating the tendon pathologies and so on. Another area in regenerative medicine, very promising, number of the patents have been reported and is related to organ printing. The first 3D bioprinter was invented by an American pediatric Dr. Atala. He published this in 2006, a lab-grown bladder, and the publication is a tissue engineer autologous bladder for patients needing cytoplasty. They collect the cells from patients and seeded on the biodegradable scaffold in shape of the bladder to produce a bladder. This study recruited 7 patients aged 4 to 19 years old, and this is 2006. The latest follow-up I could find was an interview by BBC with one of the patients that in the time of the treatment was 10 years old, and at least for 12 years follow-up for these patients, he was very satisfied, and he mentioned that he went to have a normal life after this bladder implant. For regulatory and ethical landscape, what can really medical doctors offer to the patients is very depend on the setting you are working. Understanding how national laws or global variations and ethics shape this stem cell treatment is very important. Based on where you are practicing, you need to refer to different legal or ethical authority. I put a few here, and one of the very user-friendly site is Mayo Clinic. I will put these links in description for you to easily review some of the resources they have. One of the points I would like to share here and remind us is that guidelines are only as strong as enforcement. There are places that they have guidelines, but they are not really enforced due to many different reasons. There Unfortunately, there is gap between in principle and in practice, and we have to understand this is very key concept. Where stem cell guidelines exist, but legal enforcement is still evolving, patents can serve as a kind of self-regulation, especially in the private sector. Patents can act as a gatekeeper of innovation. They determine who can legally manufacture, sell, or license a regenerative medicine product. They create traceability for who owns or originated a technique. Patent licensing or transfer record can be one of the few transparent signals to clinicians of whether a product has undergone technical vetting or commercial validation. But again, I would like to remind you that being patented doesn't mean that is approved or this is effective. We really need to have more deep research on what could be offer from the number of the patents that are already in the market or is registered in different patent platform. One of the area in this field is related to what are the business capacity that we can consider the practical model of it. This study is conducted in UK, focusing on 10 case study of companies or organizations that are part of the current innovation ecosystem of regenerative medicine in the United Kingdom. The implication this article highlights that is the need for more systemic analysis of needs for potentially disruptive innovation in regenerative medicine, and it's more widely related to the policymakers to understand how regulation in this field can support or stop the initiative or the innovation that might be helping patients in need. There are three remarks that they bring to our attention. The is high upfront cost and manufacturing complexity that increase the cost of cell-based therapies, and also delivery and logistic bottleneck of stem cell-based product that needs a cold chain, and it might again affect the feasibility and cost of the treatment. The business model can be very different, can be fee for service in private clinics or licensing of potential technology to establish a clinic, or can be a subscription or outcome-based model like pay for performance. If you are interested to have any patent or have a business related to marketing or bringing a patent to market, you may be interested to read this article. What is the future watch? These stem cells-based products are really a new biologics, combining a stem cell derivative with peptide, growth factors, or biomaterials. There is increasing demand for personalized regenerative medicine protocol, which need patient match or age-adjusted solutions. Simplification and miniaturization of the kit or device in clinical settings, such as closed system for PRP production, or rise of the cell-free products, such as exosome that have like more clear regulatory pathways in future. There is a very huge changes in the market, a shift in the market for more wellness and aesthetic clinics really offering opportunity for the treatments, and some of them might come to the market or be applied in different patients before a full therapeutic validation. This might be risky and needs a lot of attention legally, ethically, and clinically. Educated patients asking harder questions now on the sourcing, evidence, and cost versus benefits. Then we have to be ready. Let me pause here and ask you this question. Which part of the value chain in this patent pipeline, discovery to patent, clinical trial, or market, is most vulnerable for regenerative medicine in healthy aging and aesthetic, and why? I have some answer here, but there is no right or wrong that I can say really have a last saying here. But it's just a kind of the guideline for us to look at these stages in or paths in regenerative medicine patent pipeline. For the discovery stage, the strength is lots of innovations. Academic and biotech sector are actively developing new cell types, delivery systems, and bioactive compounds. The vulnerability is often not clinically tested in real patients, especially in healthy aging and aesthetic use. Technologies may lack scalability or reproducibility. Discoveries are sometimes rushed to patent without any long-term data be collected. The bottom line is discovery is rich, but many findings are unproven or untranslatable. The next stage in the patent part is there are legal protection and potential commercial variable for a patent, but we know that there are still vulnerability here. There are some broad claims often do not map onto real-world application, especially again in healthy aging and aesthetic. Clinicians may misinterpret patent existence as validation. Patent tickets and overlapping rights can block collaboration or competition. In one go, different groups, different companies may patent a product. There are some overlapping, and there might be a need to combine all these patents together to produce a product ready for the patients. But sometimes competition stops this process or make it to be harder. Some patterns are strategic but scientifically weak. We see there are impact, we see there are effect, but maybe it is still not supported by scientific finding. The bottom line is a granted patent doesn't mean safety, efficacy, or approval, a major point of confusion in clinic setting. In clinical trial stage, which to my understanding and my opinion is the most vulnerable point for the aesthetic and healthy aging using regenerative medicine and stem cell based therapy. And why? Because aesthetic often bypass rigorous phase 1 to 3 trial, rely on off-label cosmeceutical or wellness language. Many regenerative therapies are marketed without regulatory approval. Lack of long-term safety or comparative efficacy or consistent outcome data is a very difficult stage in clinical trial using any regenerative medicine product for aesthetic or healthy aging application. Trials that exist in this field are often small or poorly controlled or not published. And the implication of this for the doctors is how to verify clinical validity of a patented regenerative medicine treatment in aesthetic and healthy aging and leaves clinicians exposed to ethical, legal, or reputational risks. And the bottom line is clinical data is the most underdeveloped and opaque part of the aesthetic and healthy aging regenerative value chain. Again, in the market stage, the strength is highly active, high demand for aging population, and aesthetic clinics quickly adopt trends. The vulnerability is rapid commercialization outpaces scientific validation. Product marketing offer exaggerate patent value and clinical impact, and regulatory oversight is often weak in private aesthetic and healthy aging practice, especially in middle-income countries. The bottom line is market uptake is fast, but often not evidence-aligned, creating downstream risks. And let's have a look at the markets and a few facts in this field of the patent in healthy aging and aesthetic medicine. There are very huge interest and growth investment for the stem cell based therapy and also cell therapy in general around the world, or about 33% of the patents are coming from academic institute, and the remaining 67 are private sector or individual inventor. Interestingly, dermatology is the fifth most common field of patent in this field, and Asia Pacific countries are having higher number of the patent field in this area compared to North America, Europe, and the rest of the world, that showing there is huge demand and market in Asia Pacific. Some resources that I share here are from different countries or regions. The first one is the patent public search in United States, and the second link is to European Union patent search. You can look at the worldwide patent scope, and also there are some platforms to find interventions in clinical use or under trial, and like Mayo Clinic, that I have example in next slide, how you can find the clinical trial that are completed or ongoing. There are two articles I recommend you to read through. Recent clinical trials with stem cells to slow or reverse normal aging. I have shown it earlier, and rising of stem cell therapies in aesthetic from PubMed. This is an interesting review. And these are also another two sites for the patent and innovation tracking. And if you are in the field of the dermatology or aesthetic, you want to have a search in Dermonet to find if there is any relevant innovation or patents is already registered. I put a few here, and one of the example for this plasma skin regeneration, they have details that might be very helpful if you consider using any of these products, but you need to really ensure the product have been gone through proper clinical trial use. For example, this patent have details of who is suitable for plasma skin regeneration, pre-treatment assessment, and also the preparation. This is from Mayo Clinic. If you want to locate any clinical trial related to this stem cell or regenerative medicine, and these are the two articles earlier I listed for you, and these are the reports also. This Signals is another platform you can look to see what are the available information, like the role of and impact of the intellectual property rights on innovation and investment in regenerative medicine. And this review, if you are interested to look at the economic implication of the patent protection, how it may impact the product coming to market, the cost, and also the place that can be produce a product. This is from Thailand, but I believe the information that is shared in this article might be helpful if you are practicing any place in the world. And this is another review, Advancement in Regenerative Medicine for Aesthetic Dermatology, a comprehensive review and future trend, published in 2024, and have a number of relevant resources that you want to read through before considering any application that is from patented regenerative medicine or stem cell based therapy. And another publication is not very new, published in 2015, but interesting, is Bringing Regenerative Medicine to the Clinic, the Future of Regulation and Reimbursement. Now in 2025, 10 years from 2015, you may just see how accurate they predict the future regulation of these applications. And thank you.